Welcome to the question of the day. Today's question is from Deb in Michigan. And Deb asks, I'm an inside sales rep and I keep getting pulled in different directions. Because of this, I'm unable to hit my sales goals from follow up. How do I focus to ensure I'm dedicating the time needed to hit my sales goals? This is a fantastic question. And I would say this isn't unique to inside sales. Really, we could be talking about any role here. I have to get certain amount of things done. I keep getting pulled in different directions. How do I get the thing done? So I'm going to talk more generally and maybe add in some inside sales specifics as we go here. But in a one-on-one call, I would encourage schedule a one-on-one call with me and we can get very specific to that role. But I'm going to speak more generally to this because I get this question from all kinds of roles. Sales leaders, general managers, owners, salespeople. Like I get the same question in their roles. So if I were visiting you, the first thing I would do is I would dig in to see what your workload was. So we would literally list out everything that you do in a day, in a week, in a month. I want to get a list of literally everything you do, down to the most minute things. If you're standing by the water cooler drinking some water, I want to write that down because that all takes up time, right? Checking email takes up time. Like I want to get a list of everything that you do. Then what I want to do is I want to start going through that list, and I have a process where we'll determine what are the things you need to manage, like own, and what are the things you need to focus on, like not lose sight of. And we're going to determine in that list what are the manage and what are the focus things. And with those, we're going to then attach a time to them. Like how long should that take to do? How long does it actually take to do? And how long should it take to do? That's going to start digging into efficiency. Because what I want to do is I want to identify, are we not getting things done because of inefficiency? Once upon a time, I came to my boss and I told my boss, I need an assistant. And he walked through an exercise like this with me. And what we found out was I didn't need an assistant. I just needed to be more efficient with my time. Because when we assigned the times to all these things, it was about a 45 hour work week. And so I just needed to either block my time better, or there were certain tasks I was taking too long on that really I shouldn't be taking that long on. And so that's what I'd be looking at first. Now, beyond that, that's going to put us into a couple of different categories. One, could we be more efficient? But two, do we maybe need to start delegating some things off or prioritizing different things that we're working on? So really, we need to see, what are we doing? What are those things that we're managing and focusing on? What are the time associated? And then could we be more efficient? Do we need to delegate? Do we need to prioritize? Or a combination of all of them. But that exercise will help us figure that out first. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to have a conversation with leadership. Are we aligned in everything that we're doing here? So a lot of times over time, we gather these duties and things that we're working on, but it's not aligned with what leadership is focused on. And so later in my career, I felt like this was happening again, where I had all these things, but now I had that opportunity where my manager had me list out everything and assign a time to it. So I did that to then walk in and say, like, look, I got all this stuff to do. How do I do it? Right? Because this equals like 80 hours. And that forced us to then align with what the company's strategy was. And so there was some things that we pushed off to next quarter. There was some things that we decided weren't a priority. There were some things that weren't my priority, and we delegated them off to other people. But to be in alignment with leadership and what they're focusing on is key as well, because I don't want to work on a bunch of things that leadership isn't aligned on. I don't want to walk in and have them look at me and go like, why are you working on that? Like that's not a priority right now. So make sure that as we're going through this, we are aligned with leadership and what their priorities are. So by the time we get done with this, here's what happens. Now I've got tangible data, all the things I do, times associated, what leadership is focusing on. It's more than that gut feeling of, oh, I'm busy and I'm pulled in so many directions and I'm stressed and anxiety. Like it's not a gut feeling anymore. Now we're making it tangible. And with that, we can figure out solutions. We can make decisions. We can prioritize and build a calendar around that. Now, there is one thing that it sounds like specifically this question is asking, and that's the when you're getting pulled in other directions. So this wouldn't be things that are part of the plan. This is I'm working on the things that are part of the plan, but then somebody's coming up to me and, hey, quick question for you, or hey, can I get you into this meeting, or something like that. You're getting pulled into these other directions. Now, there's a number of things that you can do to limit that. That would be restricting access. That would be like closing your door. Now, I know as a company, we want to have an open door policy and we want to be available. But there are certain times we need to get work done too, right? And if I have my calendar blocked and I'm not closing my door the entire day, it's just, hey, over this time, I'm closing my door. So like with an inside salesperson, for example, there's studies that show between 8 and 10, between 2 and 4, those are opportune times to make calls. I may close my door between 8 and 10 and 2 and 4, and maybe over lunch hour. Like those would be those opportune times where I need to be making calls because that's tied into our company plan, and I can't be interrupted and missing those times. I have to get those call counts in. So whatever your role is, blocking those times and then closing your door. And if that doesn't work, you could go elsewhere too. Like you could work elsewhere in the building where you're not as accessible because you have to get these certain things done that are tied into the plan. I had one inside salesperson, she just had a curtain, right? Because their office was all open. She didn't really have an office. She had a desk. And so she just pulled the curtain. And then it was enforced that if that curtain is closed, you do not bug me unless the building's blowing down, burning down. Like, do not bug me. Okay. And so that worked for them. I've also seen other companies that do the curtain and then people just go around the curtain anyways, right? I had one inside salesperson where this constantly was happening and she kept telling the owner, I need an office, I need an office, but they didn't have an office. So she asked, could I clean out that closet and make that closet my office? And that's what they ended up doing. They ended up cleaning out a closet, putting that stuff somewhere else. And the closet, as tiny as it was, became her office. She literally had to, like, when she would step in, she had to like step to the side to close the door behind her. But it offered her that luxury of having a closed door where she could make her phone calls, get her stuff done, and not get interrupted. And when the door was closed, the door was closed. You didn't come in and pull her in another direction. Now, the last thing I would say in regards to getting pulled in another direction would be stop praising people for pulling you in another direction. I'm going to say that again. Stop praising people for pulling you in another direction. And here's what I mean by that. Often we'll be working and someone will come to us with a question or need to pull us into something. And they do it because they know we're going to have the answer. They know we're going to be nice and we're going to help them out. They know we're going to drop everything to help them, right? And I definitely want to be seen as that type of person, but also I have to prioritize my time in alignment with what we need to get done. Now, if they're bringing me questions and things that they should probably be bringing their manager or another manager, if this is somebody else's fire, I don't want to jump in and fight that fire for them. This is kind of like if you got a new puppy, right? Imagine you got a new puppy. You bring the puppy home. The puppy is probably going to go potty on the floor. It's going to have an accident and go potty on the floor. Now, what do you do in that moment when the puppy goes potty on the floor? Do you praise the puppy? Like walking up, petting it and saying, oh, good boy, you peed on the floor. Or do you stick its nose in the potty and then say no and rush it outside so that it knows that's the space to go potty? Which do? You stick its nose in it. Because if you sit there and praise and pet the puppy's going to think that it's doing right. That's a positive reaction. And the puppy is just going to keep going potty in the house, and you're going to have a bigger problem. That's what's happening here. When people are bringing you questions that should be addressed by their own managers or another manager, when they're bringing you fires that are somebody else's fire, they're bringing it because you know you're going to answer the call. You're going to answer the question. And so we're petting them. That's what we're doing. We're praising them. They're getting the answer. Now, I'm not saying that when they bring you these things to be a jerk, to tell them to go away. That's not what I'm saying. But we could do something like this. If somebody brings me a question, and I know it's a question for their manager, they're just bringing it to me to get the quicker answer, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, that's a great question. What did your manager say? That's a great question. What did your manager say? And if they say, well, I haven't asked them yet, I'm going to say, well, I don't want to step on their toes. So probably sounds like a good question you need to ask your manager. What I'm doing now is I'm reinforcing them to go ask their manager. And this shouldn't take any additional time, right? So it's not like I'm wasting company time here. I'm directing them to go to their manager because eventually they're going to learn if I got a question that should really go to my manager, rather than asking you, I should just go to my manager because it'll be quicker, right? It's their fire to put out, their question to answer. If I go to Chris, he's just going to say, what did your manager say? You should go ask them, right? So stop praising the puppy. Stop praising people for pulling you in different directions. Don't be mean, but stop praising them. So that's today's question of the day. If you're enjoying question of the day, follow, share, give a rating. Question of the day is on major streaming platforms. If you have a question, reach out to me either on social media or email. Both are going to be listed below in the show description. Let's get your questions answered. And if you're a Nexstar member, schedule a call with me. Let's get these addressed one-on-one and be very specific to your situation. I'm Coach Chris. We'll see you tomorrow.